Hello to all our magical listeners. We are Marie and Kate. Together, we love to chat about mindful magic. Mindful magic is intentionally, mindfully traveling through each day, each task, every little mundane thing you need to do with a magical mindset. Let's get magical and start this episode. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, Mariah.
Hi there. Hi there.
Hi. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a very special guest today, our friend Mariah Kunow. As a genuine, dedicated, and passionate psychic medium and paranormal investigator, Mariah helps people discover, understand, and unfold the truths of and magic about the world of the paranormal. She has dedicated many years to properly develop her psychic and mediumship abilities, has investigated numerous haunted locations throughout the country, and she's also a parapsychology enthusiast, just like we are. Mariah can be seen investigating a historical New York City mansion in episode 5 of the Netflix docuseries Haunted Discoveries, which I highly recommend. And also no, I'm sorry, that one is Surviving Death,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
so, oh my God. I was jumping ahead because I'm so excited about both of them. Surviving Death. So that is episode 5 of the Netflix docuseries Surviving Death. And that entire series I highly recommend. And then as well as helping out the Haunted Discoveries team in Kentucky in episode 4 of season 2. That's Haunted Discoveries, and that episode is called The Promise. And when investigating, Mariah loves to incorporate all her knowledge and abilities into what she calls the paranormal trifecta. And we're going to find out more about that later. But over the years, her main passion has become to proudly, ethically, and compassionately reunite people with their loved ones in spirit. Very important service to humanity, in my opinion. Her overall main responsibility is to honor, respect, and connect with them. Spirit's direction is her direction, and what a journey it is. So, for all of you who have ever been interested in mediumship, connecting with your loved ones who've passed, or investigating a haunted location as a mediumship, as an investigator, this is your episode. So we're glad you're here. And hello, Mariah. Welcome. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It's great to see you again, Maria. Nice to meet you, Kate.
It's so nice to meet you too. Really happy to have you on.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. Thank you.
So, Mariah, how did your journey as a psychic and a medium first begin?
So, it didn't start out off with, like a lot of people will say, "Oh, I saw my, recently deceased grandma at the end of the bed," or any of that. Um, I kind of I unfolded my abilities. I got my interest in the paranormal when I was little. I always like ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot. When I was little, and some of the shows were not really that prevalent back then, but I was always interested in ghosts. I remember checking out a book when I was in 4th grade, so I've always had that curiosity. But it wasn't until I went to New Orleans at this point about 15 years ago, when Spirit's like, "Here we are, now it's time for you to work with us. We're not going to tell you how or why or anything like that," but that's when everything just kind of opened up. And I had liked going, I mean, some of the shows I liked investigating, going to haunted places around the Bay Area where I'm from. But I think my trip to New Orleans just kind of opened everything up. So that's where it began.
I love that. Do you remember, like, was it like a place that you went to, or just an experience that you had, or was it just throughout the whole trip?
Um, it was, we went on an organized investigation. Now it was very formal. It wasn't sensationalized. She gave us God, it's been so long, some dowsing rods and EMF detector, and I used the dowsing rods. And she kind of told us a history of the building. It was the Bourbon Orleans Hotel. We walked around the ballroom, and I just like, oh, I'm just curious. I know there are spirits here, just a knowing. And so I just like, well, let's see what these rods do. And I just put the thought out, and then they responded. And it's a long, kind of a long story short. Spirit allowed me to, I mean, I'm able to trance channel. That's how I kind of got my start in this. It's kind of backwards. A lot of mediums start off as mental medium, so mind to mind, whereas I kind of started my journey with trance channeling, so which
Wow.
is kind of altered state. So I kind of went backward, the opposite. Um, Connected with them. My best friend was there. She saw me completely change into another personality, but it never scared me. It was just like, wow, what is this? It was a curiosity. It's like I'm blending with this woman who missed her loved one who went off to war. So, we all feel the heartbreak. We all know what the feeling of heartbreak and missing someone is. And that's what I was feeling. All spontaneous. And then from there on, it just like, okay, well, what is this? So it was that one interaction with the spirit, which changed it all. Yeah.
Wow, now I wanna ask about trance channeling.
Yeah.
When you I was very lucky that my stepmom was, she kinda got me onto my metaphysical path when I was very young, like 12, I think is when she gave me my first deck of tarot cards. She took me to a trance channeler, to get a few readings, a lady by the name of Jennifer Borders, and I don't think she does it anymore, but she was incredible. And I just, it's always been fascinating. So I just wanted to see from you, Mariah, when you first did that, did you feel like the lady was literally blending with you, or did you feel like you kind of needed, did you feel you yourself step to the side? Like, how did that feel for you?
Um, it's, you know, it, it's, I could, I think a lot of it is having, I had empathy and sympathy for this woman and just the feelings. It's because spirit communications is all about emotions. And I'm saying this looking back now, but at the time, it was, again, it was so spontaneous, and it was just like she blended with me so much that I wasn't even aware of, like, oh, there's someone else with me. It was just, I kind of took the passenger seat and allowed this spirit to just, I remember the words. It was like, oh, that's right. It felt like a baseball bat hit my stomach. I lost all my breath. I'm like, and then I said, I miss him so much. I miss him. I started crying. And I remember me listening to the words and feeling the feelings. I'm like, wow, I've never been this sad. Not even when I lost my cat. This is really interesting. And so I just let it flow. I didn't question it. I trusted what I was, and then my best friend said, "Wow, you didn't even sound like yourself. You didn't look like yourself." So it was neat to have that objective, my view of that perspective of that.
I
And
Wow.
love
then
how it didn't scare you. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead. No, no,
I love how it didn't scare you, and it was just
no.
it was natural.
And it was natural. I didn't question it. It's like, wow, I questioned it because I'm like, what's going on? But I didn't fear it at all because I'm more curious rather than out of just curiosity. So it's like, okay, well, that was an interesting experience. And then the leader, um, she just said, okay, she calmed me down. She kind of helped ground me and make me kind of come back to reality. And then from then on, I'm like, okay, what is this? And then I went back to New Orleans again, channeled on my own, and I just started learning about it because at the time there wasn't a lot of literature or things that I could find about trance channeling, which, there's some controversy about people who do it. Is it their own mind creating the words? Am I really blending with another being per se, whether it's human, higher, a higher evolved being, the source of the information coming through. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just think it's fascinating. I wanted to know about my past lives. Even at 12 years old, I wanted to know what past lives were affecting me at the time. Like what it was I care. That was my question to her at that point was,
Mm.
tell me what I didn't get that I need to get now. And so, I mean, it was such a useful tool to find out that kind of stuff as well. And so
Yeah.
now as a medium, do you find that well, and I guess maybe we can talk about that a little bit more when we talk about like how you do what you do, but I just
Right.
want to remember to ask you about like you keeping that barrier up, and you know what I mean, like just connecting with the past loved one versus allowing them to come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can talk about that. I'll try
okay.
to remember that.
Sorry, Kate, did you have a question?
No, no.
Okay. So, Mariah, I wanted to know how fun this must have been for you, but what was your experience like filming Surviving Death in that historic New York City mansion? What was it called?
The Morris Jamel Mansion, which is up in Washington Heights. So, which is more north, it's pretty north or northeast in New York City. So, um, and it was the house where Hamilton, Lynn was there and helped inspire him. There's this chair there. So it's a really neat historical location. I've investigated it multiple times. So when Netflix asked me to be part of their series, it was really neat because I had to kind of um, show them a little bit what the house was about before we started filming, and so at the time of the filming, it was a great honor to be asked. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. Um, and I'm not used to, they're just be normal. It's like, well, when you have cameras in front, it's like, okay, just remember to be normal. But I think the thing that because usually when I was investigate, I would be there for at least 4 to 6 hours, like at least 4 hours. So I had time to, you know, just see who was there, experience and try things, and just because spirits don't just automatically show up. You kind of have to. Some nights were really slow. Some we had great interaction throughout the times I was there. But the night before the filming, I just put the thought out to the spirit world. I'm like, please, we're going to be filming tomorrow. Please, somebody show up. Someone speak on on the EVP. Just interact with the equipment. Even the spirits from outside, if come on in. Just we need something on camera. So, I was a little bit nervous, like, oh, please, let there be activity, because if there's nothing, then there was, um, but it was wonderful. The spirit stepped up. I got things that I wasn't expecting, so it was really neat. And I also learned the power of editing with that
Mm.
show.
Mhm.
Then,
Yeah. So our friend, our mutual friend Lloyd Auerbach, we had him on, and that's what people need to understand about those ghost shows is Zach Bagans doesn't just go to the location and things are blowing up. Like it takes days sometimes to even get something, and
yeah,
that is the power of editing.
yeah, and even editing the words people say, it's like, wait, we kept saying this, and in some ways I'm glad, but they only portrayed me as an investigator, and they cut out the part where I was a medium trying to connect, and things I would say. So like I sensed if anyone watched it, I captured footsteps. And just before that, I said, you know what, Chris, who I was investigating with, I feel there's someone pacing outside. I mean, outside in the hall. And then I'm like, let's do a session. And then that's when they recorded the footsteps. So that's why I was so excited, because I'm like, oh, we caught the footsteps. But they edited that out. So I'm like, but I'm happy the way it ended up anyway. So
It's just cool to be on a Netflix series for
yeah,
that, for something that you love to do. So that what a
yeah,
blessing.
it was
That
great.
is.
And they included a lot of things which I'm glad they did not edit out. So it was good.
I love that. So I've been so excited to ask you this question, Mariah. So can you explain what you mean by the paranormal trifecta.
So that, oh, and last, before I say that, everything I express is my opinion. It's based on my experience, my training, my own study, and some things I say, I'm always open to change my opinion. So I just wanted to say that first. And I could be wrong too. And I don't know some things. But anyway, um, for the paranormal trifecta, I apply that to when I investigate. So it's a combination of three things, which I think all investigators should be aware of. With So it's a combination of three things. One's including the knowledge and awareness, and you don't have to know everything, but the basic knowledge and awareness of spiritualism without the religion, like how and the why spirit communicate, how they communicate through emotion, some of the mechanics of mediumship. I'm not saying you have to learn how to be a medium, but just the basic mechanics of mediumship, along with the philosophy of spirit communication. So to bring that to an investigation, because you want to know what you're investigating. Who are you? You're looking for spirits. Well, you want to know all about them and how they potentially can communicate. So what I think it's important we learn about them. Um, and the second part of the combination is learning about basic parapsychology, and that's where I got most of my learning from Lloyd Auerbach, and just learning basic principles and theories and perspectives about I guess you could say, the science behind the mediumship and psychic phenomena that happens, like psychokinesis. We have the power of moving things. We have the power of affecting the equipment, but also spirit uses also psychokinesis to make impressions upon the equipment and things like that. So it's really important to know, and what's residual. Just there's so much to learn and to bring to the investigation. And the last part is knowing the proper techniques and the approaches to paranormal investigating. Like, know how to ask a certain question. Like, you don't want to ask yes no questions for certain reasons. um how to do a proper EVP session, because so many people I notice over the years, they'll do an electronic voice phenomena to try and capture spirit voices. They'll record it and then they'll go home and listen to it later, as opposed to doing burst sessions where you ask questions and then you play it back immediately. And it's like, well, you could have a voice saying, "Hi, my name's Janet, I'm standing right next to you." And then when you hear that back at home, then you can't interact. So it's just like, what's the point?
Right.
You're here to connect, you're here to find out you can ask them questions. So proper techniques. So the three things would be the learning about spiritualism without the religion aspect, parapsychology, and knowing the proper techniques. So that's what I believe I like to bring to all investigations as the paranormal.
I love that. My son, he's only 10, but he's really drawn to a cemetery near our house. Um, so I bought a kit online off of Amazon, and it has the recorder and it has the little light up balls, and I haven't even used it yet. And I'm so glad you said that, because I felt like I need to know how to use this correctly, because we're going to go during the day. So I love how you said that. And I'm definitely going to be asking you some tips on how to use that, because he wants so badly to go there and investigate. So
Yeah.
I love that. So just not waiting until later to listen.
Yeah.
You don't miss anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That'll be fun to use with him.
Yeah. We're excited.
It's so fun when they're so young and they've got this curiosity already. A lot of it is influence from parents and stuff. So thank you, Kate, for being the kind of mom that's open and lets your kids, explore these kind
I'm
of
excited to see where they go when you give your kids the space to explore what it is that they're truly drawn to. So I'm interested to see where it leads us.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, Mariah, any other advice you would give to people who are maybe just starting out going on investigations, or who maybe even people who already do it, but any other advice?
What's thing about Kate, your child, and I find children are just so open. They're not jaded by Hollywood or they're just so open to the possibilities of what I like to call the magic of the spirit world. And they're open to different things which are just out of the norm per se. I think I would say for beginners is to leave all religious beliefs, all fear-based beliefs at the door. And because a lot of that projection changes narratives to incorrect narratives, to fear-based narratives, kind of put what people have seen in Hollywood, and the paranormal shows, just put that aside and just really be open and just kind of forget all that, because it's kind of a new slate, because you're new, the person, the investigators new with their emotions and experiences, and they're just meeting people who just don't have a body anymore. They're just, trying to have an interaction. So I would say also to connect when investigating, connect with emotions, pay attention to your emotions. What are you feeling when you walk in? Are you feeling happy or sad? And explore that. And where it can be tricky is people also have to leave their own emotional baggage at the door too, because sometimes we can get in the way if we have an issue about something or a relationship with someone, and we just have to kind of forget that in the moment. But as I'm saying that, you can also bring that to show sympathy and empathy with the spirits who potentially could be there. So I would say be curious, drink water throughout the investigation, because for some reason there's just this, there's dehydration goes on, I find, and people get really thirsty. I'm like, just keep drinking water. They need to eat a little bit during the investigation. But like I said before, learn basic parapsychology. I mean, I know Lloyd has some great classes and combining parapsychology with paranormal investigations. Um, learn a little bit about mediumship. Read some of mediums books. And I think the bottom line is trust your instincts. Trust what you're feeling and ask questions and just be curious. I would say trust your feelings and be curious are going to probably the two main.
I like that.
That's great
And
advice.
it's such good advice for people to leave, the religious beliefs at home. We have a mutual friend here who likes to go do investigations, but like everything is a demon. Something, around every corner is a demon. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's expecting.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Yeah.
the expectations. And it's
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
just not reality of it, and then I'm glad you mentioned water, because our electromagnetic field, it operates better when we're hydrated and we're a conduit, our
Yeah.
electrolytes and everything play into that. So thank you for mentioning that.
And I'm sure there's some scientific reason, which is another rabbit hole, to go down.
Let's
We'll
go
ask
jump down
you.
that soon.
Yeah.
So, Mariah, what has been your most intense or unforgettable paranormal investigation?
There's so many for so many different reasons, but I I would have to say probably the first one would be the one at New Orleans at the Bourbon Orleans Hotel, which kind of opened this entire for the spirit. Ooh, I can feel. And I can sometimes, if I stop, I can feel spirit kind of surrounding me, like, ooh, because they're all around us too, just watching this, like, ooh, listen to what she's saying. This, and maybe we can influence this other person who may be listening, or anyway. So that's as a distraction. Um, uh, I think that again, the Bourbon Orleans was just, I mean, that they opened the door for me. They're like, here, these are your abilities. We're not going to tell you about them, but welcome to our world. You're going to work for us now. And I had to go through all my life experiences in order for that timing to happen. So I was a concierge for many years before in the hotel business in San Francisco. And so I had to meet all these people and learn about different people's emotions and feelings and wants and needs before this experience to unfold. So I think that was one of the most influential investigations I did. But I would have to say after that would be the Amargosa Opera, um, the opera building in Death Valley, Death Valley Junction, because that is when I was brand new. It was like one of my first investigations, and spirit, um, it was in a opera house, and there were their curtains, and I pulled back the curtain maybe 20 feet. There was this big ball of gold glitter, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I felt the emotion. It's like, wow. And some of the EVPs I captured were clear. And so I think that was spirit going, look at the possibilities, look at the magic of our world. And as I'm looking at you right now, Kate, I see Mindful Magic channel, because I like to call it real magic. And so spirit was like, look at the possibilities. If you're open to it, here we are. So that kind of is more the magic of it. But I would say, without being, and I wasn't a medium at the time, but I would say the most amazing one was at the Washoe Club in Virginia City. There were a group of us in this, and we were kind of in this one room, and the walls, it was an old building where you could see the wood slats and you could see through them. And so you can kind of see, there were shadows around, but we heard cowboy boots walking around the group. And it was just maybe 5 of us. And we heard them circling. How that was possible, I don't know. Then we separated a bit just to figure out, like, is anyone here? No. And then individually, we both heard a man just right up in our ear speak. I didn't know what the voice said, but it was, they were right there. It was just like, and all of us were experiencing this objectively, meaning we all felt it and saw it and heard things. So I think, and multiple times I've been there, and just phenomenal interaction. So I'd say the Washoe Club as far as a location. Yeah. But I mean, there's so many, but I would say those 3.
Did you notice, Mariah, I have a question. When you discovered and reawakened your abilities, did you notice your energy levels increase because you learned how to protect yourself? Because you said you were a concierge in a hotel. I can only imagine how exhausting that must have been sometimes, being so open and not using, whatever protection that you use. Did you notice that once you reawakened those, that it made work in your daily life easier?
Well, I don't use protection. I don't protect myself because I feel personally, I feel protections out of fear and worry. It's like, oh, what are they gonna? So it's an intention. Whereas, yes, and part of it, I had to be intuitive to help these guests, and so I kind of had to feel into, they may be asking for something, but I'm like, are they really asking me that? So that was where the psychic abilities, my intuition started developing. And then we use our psychic abilities to apply them to mediumship. So I think once I started realizing that I could do mental mediumship, which is a little bit different than the trance, um, my teachers would make fun of me I would be known to have, and some people have, when their curiosity is open, they have a leaky faucet. And so they're always kind of hyper aware of their surroundings. And so it's more of just a mindset of changing that. It's like, no, I'm not working. I'm not going to be open. But, if you completely close down, then I don't think I could ever completely close down because I'm just naturally aware, but it's shifting my awareness to a certain level to really tune into somebody or a spirit or something. So I'm more sensitive now. I can, like, the energy of my apartment here, the energy of my city, the town, the nation. So I'm a lot more sensitive now than I was because not always, but it's just my awareness is a little bit greater. So my bubble's a little bit bigger. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah. So, but I want to address your protection thing is, I think it's naturally built in all of us that, it's just paying attention is, what's good for me, yes. And like, if I meet someone who's just, you feel that kind of hesitation or that discomfort, you walk away. So you don't, it's not a matter, I guess you could say you protect yourself by walking away, and you have that free will to do that. So, but I just, I don't fear others. I just kind of let them come. We meet at a middle, and then if it works, it works. I hope that makes sense.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have boundaries. Like Mariah, remember when you were here in Hawaii and you went to the lantern ceremony And Kate, it's so beautiful. Um, so many people come down to Alamoana Beach Park. They write prayers on their lantern. They light it and they set it in the water. And they have some buoy kind of stuff out so it captures it, but so they're not just floating away and becoming junk. But it's just such a beautiful ceremony watching all of these lanterns in the water at sunset. And I remember Mariah saying, like, because the spirits are there, even more so because of the intentions of their family connecting with them, remembering them. And you kind of just had to go, okay, I'm not at work right now.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And I think the word protection, it depends on how you use it. Because when I was I could feel the spirits. I could feel the grief of I mean, there were hundreds of people there. So it's like, to protect my own sanity, my own emotions, and my own balance, it's like, okay, I'm going to put a little bubble around me. And just so I'm not bombarded by that. But I also feel that, me doing that, but I also feel I call them my spirit peeps. I think they also, we don't not necessarily need to be aware of them, but I think they also have a hand in making sure we're okay.
I like that.
Like, no, we've got your back. You're a little bit, you're not quite covered there, but we're gonna help you here.
Yeah.
So it's more of a balancing and a natural protect. Like you put sunblock on to protect your skin from the sun. It's not a fear. It's just kind of being smart about things too. I just want to protect my skin. So
Right.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there are like misperceptions about actual ghosts at the haunted locations that you could help clear up for people? I know Lloyd talked about this too, just like the psychology of ghosts and the what am I trying to say? The physics of ghosts,
yeah. Oh yeah. I would say, kind of like Kate mentioned earlier, I feel that misconceptions is people, there's, it's demonic, it's evil, da 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 da. I think it's really the spirits are just frustrated or they're angry because of something. It's who they really are is not what we put that label onto. And people have their archetypes they throw on it. And I think, spirits like, no, that's not me. And so it just gets them more frustrated. It's like, imagine if I placed labels on both of you and it was completely wrong, you'd get like frustrated. And if it was, time and time again, the same narrative, it's like, no, for Pete's sake. So I think that a misconception is that just because you're feeling uncomfortable in a situation or you feel this ghost is angry or quote unquote evil, they're not. I think that's a big misconception. I think another misconception is that they are stuck. I feel that they are exactly where they need to be because there's a certain level of awareness and an evolvement that they need to go through and learn or lesson or something that they need to learn. So wherever they are, and I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but there could be part of a shadow of their consciousness that's still there that we're sensing. And it's not their entire soul there. It's like a little bit of leftover that they need to work out on their own or something. So I think there's a misconception that, oh, they're stuck, because spirits have free will, just like we have free will. So I think another misconception is that they're connected to the location, because I find a lot of people when they investigate, they don't set the boundaries of like, because for me, it's like only those connected to this land, to this building, to the item or the people are allowed to come through. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have all these spirits, like a big lighthouse there, and spirits from next town over and next building over, like, hey, they're trying to connect to us. Let's go.
Or
Hey,
your partner's
George.
grandmother.
Yeah. Like, George, you're really good at moving things. Come on. And so the investigators think it's the person of the home, when really it's not. So I think there's a misconception of what spirits are actually there, which goes to your point of, Kate, of, I would say 9 times out of the 10, the investigations I go to, it's the loved ones trying to connect with the investigators. Because I guarantee you, most of those investigators are not investigating at their own home and trying to reach out to their loved ones. And they don't, for whatever reason, they don't it just, there's not that connection between, oh, my loved ones are spirits too. And so when spirit, when they're opening up to connect with spirits, their loved ones like, oh, here's my opportunity. So I think a majority, and I find a majority are your loved ones there, just trying to connect with you, because it's they're given that opportunity, because there weren't any boundaries. And whenever in investigations I go on, I'm like, okay, are you open to your loved ones connecting? And they all say, oh, of course. So it's like, okay. And so it's kind of fun to discern and figure out who's coming through. That's the hardest part, is who's here. So
Right. I don't think people think that at all when they're going to investigate a location. They're focused solely on the events that happen there,
yeah,
past experiences that everybody's had there, right? So that's such a great point to bring
yeah.
up.
It is. So I feel like you kind of covered this already. So with the numerous locations that you've investigated, what do you feel is the common thread about the spirits you interact with? Would you say that are those common threads? Is there any more?
Yeah, getting the story incorrect. It's like, no, I didn't do that, or I wasn't there, I didn't die here. Oh, another misconception is that spirits hang around locations where they died. Huge misconception. Spirits return to places where they love, where there's there's a connection, there's a purpose. So I feel that's a huge misconception. But anyway, a common thread I would say um, is there's so much I find, like docents or the people running some of the investigations, they talk about the death of these spirits, like, oh, this person was crushed here or was shot here. And I think it's just, the common thread is like, the spirits don't want their death to define them. And it just happens over and over. And it's like, and I get emotional about this, because it's like, why would you want to talk about your death? Because
Right.
that's,
Right. Forevermore. Right.
forevermore. And I think some of them just get so frustrated that they get angry. It's like, stop it. And some just don't care anymore. They're like, peace out. I don't, they're doing this again. So, but also I think some return because they want to talk about it to people who may have the sympathy or empathy about their death. So there's always a purpose and a reason for a spirit to return. And lastly, I think it's the common thread is, I think a lot of it, the spirits of the loved ones, the loved ones of the investigators. So, yeah.
I love your perspective. I love it. So what's one of the most meaningful spirit connections you've helped facilitate as a medium?
They're all meaningful in a different way, and that's also not for me to decide. But there's, at some level, there's always a level of healing, of just of love. But I would say the most meaningful, well, they're all different, but I think the children, connecting with children to their parents, um, especially their moms, and the unconditional love that children have in spirit it's like nothing you've ever felt. I know I think you both have children, so times that for anyone who has children or even pets, to times that by 1,000. It's like it's almost like your body wants to fuse. It doesn't know where all that love. It's just the love from children, I think, is the most meaningful experience I've had, because the children allow me to feel their unconditional love for their parents, and for how they lived, and for how they are continuing to exist. Um, and I think the knowing, because there's a difference between believing and knowing. The knowing of the unconditional love that they bring forth, allow me to feel, and allow the words they want to share with their mom specifically. I think those have been the most meaningful, and what they have to say. I mean, I can't say it here because it brings me to absolute tears. But what they have to say it's just soul shifting, and I love connecting with them.
That makes me want to cry just thinking about it.
It's so beautiful. Wow. I have to say, I experienced that on a, I'm sure just a much um, smaller scale, but many years ago, I took this like transpersonal development course, and there were 4 women in it with our instructor, and 3 of us got pregnant at the same time. And each of us had our babies 17 days apart. It was so strange. Carson was born, then 17 days later, my son, and then 17 days later, baby Catherine. And unfortunately, at about 10 months old, the first baby Carson died of SIDS.
Mm.
And, I mean, it's heartbreaking. And the night that he died, I was in my bed with my son, and I could feel something. I had my back to the wall, but there was a space there, like to walk, just in like couple of feet, but I could feel something very warm and tingly. And I turned around and I knew it was Carson. I could feel, and it was like, to describe it is like, it looked like a beautiful like orange, tangerine orange, and like turquoise blue nebulous thing with like sparkles in it. That's the best way I can describe it. And I could just hear
Mm.
Carson was a baby, but it's like a spirit voice, and he was expressing how much he loved his mom, and for me to share that with her.
Yeah.
So that was just, I felt so honored that his spirit came to me. But it's the most beautiful thing I've seen.
It's you can't even describe it really. I mean, I know you did, but it's just something, it's just a feeling, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Let's see, where are we at?
that's neat you had that experience, Marie.
Yeah, I felt very, very blessed. And then, but it felt, I don't know how to describe it. I talked to like our teacher of our class, and I said, this lady, Jill, who's just a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I said, Carson came to me and just wants me to express how much he loves his mom. But it just felt, just the words didn't hold enough.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
felt kind of silly going to her and saying, Carson says he loves you.
Yeah.
It's like, that didn't nearly
Right.
scratch the tip of it. Right.
Exactly. It's like, I don't have the words. They're words beyond just love.
It's
But
consuming.
he also chose you because he knew you were the right medium, the right person. So to do that job for him, to tell the story.
Yeah. So, if people are having like a genuine haunting, or they're having things go bump in the night, or hearing things, seeing things in their home, they can contact you and our friend Lloyd, right? To come and just check it out for them and see what type of phenomena is happening, right?
Yeah.
That's that. And thank you for offering that. We'll, I think maybe it would be so cool to have you and Lloyd on together, wouldn't it,
Yeah.
Kate? And
It would
just
be
talk
so
about like what you guys have done together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's always, and it's fun, well, he'll get a call and he'll ask me to come with him to, like, who's in the home, what's going on. And what's also neat for me is I can tune into a location remotely. So, Kate, if you had something going on in your home, like, oh, I don't know what's going on, I don't have to be in a location to tune into it, because it's just, there is no space nor time. So I can just tune and go, oh, and give you evidence like, okay, would you understand this, that this is going on in your home? Okay, I feel it's your grandma. I'm making this up. Feel it's your grandmother. And then we can go from there. Well, why is she there? And then just kind of unfold it. So it's kind of neat. I don't have to be there in person. It can be remotely. So that always helps with costs and time and all that. So
Yeah.
Remote is free, not a plane
yes,
ticket.
yes, yeah.
What kinds of things have you found when you've gone out to someone's home? So when someone calls you and asks you, or Lloyd asks you to come, what are some things that you found?
It's it's kind of it. I find sometimes it's just a loved one. They're trying to get their attention. The person is maybe going through a stressful time, and the loved one just wants to say, hey, I'm here too for you, supporting you. But also, I would say a lot of it is just the person and their own psychokinesis, their own energy, which is affecting and just being scared or stressed or anxiety, and it's affecting what's around them. So I find it's a lot of the conduit of the activity is them. And then we help work with them like, okay, what's going on? Why is this? And sometimes we'll refer them to a transpersonal psychologist to kind of help them with things. And so it varies differently, but usually I find a lot of it, just kind of going through is a lot of it's just the person's own stress affecting things like the lights. And sometimes it's residual too, because now it's all coming back. The person living in the home, they don't know the difference to what a residual energy is, which is just an imprint. So I remember we had this one where they thought something was going on in the bathroom, like it was haunted, but really it was, I kind of tuned in, and based on questions we asked, um, there was just a lot of stress and abuse that happened in the bathroom, or where the woman would go cry. And because we cry a lot in the bathrooms if we're having a bad day, it's kind of, in the shower, just kind of we relax, whatever. So a lot of their emotions are in the bathroom. So I felt that they were just feeling the residual of the past tenant. So it wasn't a spirit, it was just the imprint, which just happened to be, and there are ways to overwrite that. So I would think that's a big key, is the residual. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think a lot of the people sense residual energy when it's not conscious.
I have a friend who drives city bus here in Grand Rapids, and she brings so much stress home and so much pain. So I have to go over there. She's like, it feels uncomfortable in here. And so when you go in, it's almost always just everything that she brings home.
Yeah.
So for you, is it just as easy to tune in remotely as it is being there? Or have you ever encountered possession while remote?
What do you mean by possession?
Oh, that's my question. I just made a note.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marie.
Oh,
sorry. Oh, I quickly looked at it and read it. And so is it just as easy for you to tune in remotely as it is being there?
Yeah, it's just a different way of looking. It's just as easy, but sometimes when I'm there, if I see something, it'll trigger something. Like, oh, I see there's a door here, but it wasn't here originally. Or it opens up I guess it's a little bit, I get more information when I'm actually there, but because sometimes it's difficult. I shouldn't say it's difficult. It's just a little bit easier when I'm there, but it's just as easy, I should say. There's sometimes if I'm in a location, sometimes something I'll see physically with my own eyes will trigger something. So it's a little bit, it's a balance. Yeah.
Yeah. My question about possessions is just, I don't know if this is the right, time to ask, but I will. So, I'm part of an investigation group here in Hawaii on Oahu, and there's a lot of people that I don't want to say a lot, and I can't give too much away, but people tend to feel like they're possessed, and it's like, there are some, how do I say it, people who are within the community that kind of spur that on, and it's like, but no, you're not. It's hard to kind of break through, and I think that has to do a lot with that religious aspect as well, and the expectations of what it could be. And yeah, so have you dealt with people that think they're possessed, or actually getting to that point of being possessed?
So I know the word possession means, or has different connotations in different religions and cultures. So I like to say well, it's a big topic, but I feel they're more influenced rather than possessed. They're really influenced. They can potentially be influenced by the spirit world, because like attracts like, which I find sometimes, especially when it deals with drugs or alcohol.
Just gonna say that
There's, I've experienced too, like in the morning when I would commute to work, a lot of the homeless, I'd commute by bus, and a lot of the homeless would join me on the bus. And then I could feel their spirit, like, oh, or spirits around them. And then the spirits are like, oh, you like to drink too. I'm like, well, no, not really. So, but they're like, or if I'm at a bar, they're like, have another one. I'm like, no, I don't want it. And they want to blend with me so they can enjoy the alcohol again. And I think because I'm aware, no, but some people just naturally are, they're just not aware. So they're influenced by these external forces, and they even can be living too.
Mm-hmm.
Because our energy is very powerful, the mind over matter. But so I think there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation about what possession really is, and people, I think, not all, of course. Some people, it's easy to blame that or use that as an excuse for behavior of not taking responsibility. But I do really feel that people can be influenced by spirit for different reasons. I think I haven't found it that often. I do see it in investigations where the spirit blends with them so much because there's a resonance there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can call it a possession, but it's just being, also there's a level of control of it too, and being aware of it. So it's kind of a different arms of topic there, but I don't see it a lot, but I do sometimes see spirit really affecting somebody. I'm like, all right, hang on, we need to get control of this situation. Let's see what's going on. And then I try and, I'm like, spirit, come over here, blend with me, and just kind of figure it out. But it doesn't happen that often.
And that's the point. The demons and the possessions, folks, don't happen very often.
Right.
I just want to get
Yeah.
that point across,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there's also like a little bit of a dramatic flair or something that people almost want it to happen or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a big, I
Yeah.
agree.
No.
Yeah.
So, I know you've made a point of stating that you work ethically with
Yeah.
spirit, and we love that. So what does it mean to you to work ethically with spirit, and how do you do that in your work?
I don't control the reading. I allow the spirit's direction to be my direction. If I don't, there's no checklist when I connect with the spirit. There's no, where'd you live? How'd you die? Um, just what'd you do for a living? I allow them to impress upon me whatever they need to impress upon me and make me aware of. I don't have a religious belief system, so I'm open to whatever they believe, and I'm literally and figuratively just the medium, and to get their story out no matter what they did in life. That's not for me to judge at all. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is like, what do you have to say? Okay. Um, and to be honest and transparent, to provide evidence, validating evidence to somebody, and not just for the sitter, but also to not change the evidence that they're giving me to fit my narrative or for my just basic misunderstanding of something. That's my responsibility. I have a lot of responsibility. I need to learn about things so I get whatever they need to say, whatever feelings they want me to express. I want to get that right, or as close to what they want to. And if I get it wrong, and if I say something that they don't want, they're like, no, that's not what I meant, or you change that. Upon my tradition, I'm going to have to face that. Now, it's never my intention to, because they know that, like, oh, she didn't quite get that right, but there was never my intention. So I think intention's huge in this work. All investigating, set an intention, all of it, the intention is what matters. So
Right. And the ethics part is like, because it's not about you.
no, it's not about me.
Trying to provide a
Yeah.
service here,
And
yeah.
And respecting them, the sitter, everyone involved. It's just a matter of respect.
Mhm.
So
Do you have any more questions to add to that, Marie, before I move on to mine?
No, I think later when we're talking more about mediumship, I just want to, I'll try to remember to ask about the evidential part of it because I think that that's so important, but I'll save that.
Okay. So, Mariah, how do you personally prepare physically or energetically before walking into a haunted location? I think you kind of talked about that earlier, but
Yeah. I would say I always open. A teacher introduced this to me. It's called sacred space. So part of that is setting the intention. I only want to communicate with those connected to land, place, person, and letting them know my intention for being there, and also letting the spirits know that, hey, I'm here to learn from you. I'm also here to teach you if you need some like insight or guidance, but also I'm here to learn from you. And and I shift my awareness to, it's almost like an energetic net I throw over where I am, wherever I am, and just like, okay, what's here, and just surrender and trust to whatever I sense and set that intention. I keep hydrated. I throughout it, I find that I need sugar a little bit. Um, so, and I think that the bottom line is just setting the intentions. Like, okay, who's here and what do you have to say? I'm here for you. You can trust me. And so it's just setting that intention. So that's what I do. A haunted location, and before I work on a mediumistic level, no matter what scenario.
do you start getting these impressions like when you're on your way to the location before you even set your intentions?
Oh yeah. Or even the night before, like, oh, there's a late, oh, she's ready. I'm like, nope, not yet. Hang on.
Wait your turn.
Yeah, wait.
I'm off the clock.
All right. But it's just, again, this that shifting. It's usually a day before. It's like, ooh, because I'm excited to see who's there, and that's what Eliza Jamel did before I went to the Morris Jamel mansion for the first time. I remember going in the car. I'm like, wow, there is a lady here who's, I know she's connected to the home. I'm really curious who she is, and then there she was. Yeah.
I love that.
So, is there any difference in how you prepare yourself to go into, say, a haunted location, and when you're specifically working with just a family or a person who wants a mediumship reading?
Um, Usually, well, with a client with a mediumship reading with a loved, sitter, I can get validation of, who I'm aware of. Like, I feel I have your, grandmother, your dad, your sister, your friend, cousin. So I can get validation. Whereas a lot of times at the haunted location, I don't know who's there. And a lot of times there are no records, or there's not a docent there to validate. I'm like, okay, I'm making this up. Like, okay, I feel like I have a farmer here. He loved doing this and he lived over there. I can't get validation. So that's where the trust came in. And that's one reason why I had to learn how to investigate first at unknown locations where I couldn't get that validation, to really, when I moved over to the mental mediumship with people whom they knew, their loved ones, they could validate. I really had to trust. It really helped me build that experience of trusting what I was sensing. So there's also sometimes, I think, with haunted locations, there's some that don't like me being there. They're like, what are you doing there? What are you in my space for? Go away. And so they make me feel uncomfortable. It's like, hey, just respect me. My intention. Sometimes they just don't care. Just like people, people will be honoring spirits. Spirits are people too. So, but it's similar preparation. It's just like, okay, who's there? What do they have to say? And then I go from there. But with the loved ones, it can be validated, and it's always, they know who's there, and so it's a little bit different in that sense.
So I have a question, and this might be just another topic for like another episode. So let me know. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about spirits of past people being there, then there's the whole other topic of like interdimensional beings and that kind of stuff, right? So is that a topic for another time, or can you?
Probably
It's
topic for another time. I think I feel it's rare. I think if you're open to it, there's a possibility of that connection, but also it's my responsibility as a psychic and medium to really use discernment with what energy, what essence I'm feeling. and not for me to label it because I be, oh, I don't know this, so it's going to be, you know, an alien or whatnot, or it's this or that. Because I think it's us knowing, really knowing what it is, as opposed to, well, it is this or it is that. Well, what's the evidence behind it? Evidence is key. Just a belief is not evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but, you know, it's like, because I have a really skeptical mind. I'm a huge skeptic. It's like, oh, but I'm also open. So it's that fine line. And that just like, okay, I've never experienced this before. Let me delve into it, you know? So it's just like, okay, it feels right. It's all paying attention to the feelings. Like, okay, this feels like, and a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that's another topic, Marie.
Yeah, and speaking of that, so we're like at about an hour now. Do you
Oh,
have
yeah.
more time? I mean, we knew it was going to go by
I know.
fast. So,
I know.
but
Yeah,
do you
I
have
do.
some more time? Okay,
I
cool.
do.
Thank you.
So, Mariah, you're definitely a psychic medium because you answered this question right before I was going to ask it a minute ago.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
ever encountered a spirit that didn't want to communicate? But can you think of another one specifically, like a time that a spirit did not want to communicate with you?
It's for like one-on-one readings when I have like people who want to connect with their loved ones. It's never been like that. Never. So the loved ones show up because there's a need, there's a purpose. So, but with the haunted locations where I don't know who's there, absolutely, there are spirits that, again, I remember I was in a location, I was in the South at a plantation, and I could feel all these spirits around me. It was a Confederate mansion I was at, and I could feel they didn't want me to be there. I could just, because they were making me feel uncomfortable. And then I did a EVP recording, and they're like, she's a traitor. Let's hang her. So I'm like, I okay. I'd like to see you try that, but you know, okay. So, but yet they still talk to me, which is fine. I find interesting. And also some are just ornery spirits. They're just like, man, they're just that grumpy old man on the, like, no, get off my land, just go. It's like, okay, I respect that. Okay. But then you kind of start getting to know them, like, oh, and then they soften a bit. But I think that the fun thing for me is when I do trance channeling, when I have another spirit really blend with my own, and I sense their spirit and their words, and I feel them almost completely, is when they want to speak, but then it's when a man does that and they look at my body like, hey, you're way too short. So I'm only a 5'2", and let's say they're, 6'2", like, this is no,
We're
this
not
is
going to fit.
not this. Or there could be, bias or bigoted or whatever. Like, no. I'm like, well, this is your chance. You use this or you don't.
Right.
You got me now. They're like, fine. So there's a little bit of that pushback sometimes, but they always go, okay, fine.
That's so funny.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Take my
So,
chance. Yeah.
yeah.
So, besides the one that called you a traitor and said you needed to be hung, is there another, like anyone that surprised you more than that? Like one that truly surprised you?
Who didn't want to connect?
Like,
Or
yeah,
just
that didn't want to connect.
not. No, if there was one, I don't remember. Yeah. It's just like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want it. Okay. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. Just in life. That's fine. I don't, it doesn't bother me. And I don't push them. It's like, come on. I don't demand at all.
Like you said, they're leading. Yeah.
Yeah, they're leading. If you don't want, but there is a point where it's like, if you're really making me feel uncomfortable, I'll be like, hey, no, not on my clock. You got to respect me here. If not, get out. Leave my awareness. And if I'm still feeling, I'll just leave the location, not the look, but the where I am. So, because I just have to, I want to say protect. It's like, no, stop it, because they're being bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in my own life, I'm not great with bullies. So, we bring our own kind of personality to the investigation too. So, and they know that.
I like that you said, get out of my awareness. I like that phrase. I'm going to start telling people that.
I know. I was just going to say that, Marie, like,
my awareness. Oh my God. I love that. So Mariah, what do you think the biggest challenges are for someone who's maybe wanting to start looking into getting into mediumship. You know, maybe they have a little bit of natural abilities and they maybe want to start trying for the first time, you know. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges?
I would say, I mean, everyone has psychic abilities. Everyone has innate mediumship abilities. I firmly believe that.
Mhm.
But I feel some are more talented, just like everyone can play the piano to a certain point. Some have that natural ability, some have that passion, some have that calling. Um, I think is it's important to depends on what your intention is of why you want to explore this. Some people just want to learn how to have a better communication with a loved one, with their mom, with their child, with this, and just kind of have basic questions. And some really, there's like more. Some do it to be famous, you know. But I think it's really important to, if someone's developing, to check in once in a while to see what their intention is. And I find a lot of people don't do that. Um, I think it's important to get proper training, take classes. It just like anything you want to learn how to do, you go to a teacher. And I think that's really key. People try and do this on their own and they learn bad habits. Oh, it anyway, that's a whole nother, I could be a whole show on its own. But I think is getting proper training and exploring different teachers, because sometimes our fifth grade teacher is not good when we're in first grade. So we have to be open to exploring different teachers, and we have our own personalities that may or may not resonate with the teacher. You know, as we grow, like I've had different teachers and some I really have fallen into. It's like, oh, now I'm at a point in my development where I really understand this other teacher and I get it. And at the beginning of my I really needed a teacher who was disciplined and who was no nonsense, no chat, let's go, let's work. That's how I am. So it's really important we know our own personality to fit that right teacher. Um, um, the challenges I think are, and I think even for those developed too, is the fear of getting it wrong, um, not trusting, and getting in our own way. And so, you know, we may learn the mechanics, but I think there's a lot of self development work, which a lot of mediums and psychics don't do. We really need to look at ourselves. You know, how were we conditioned when we were growing up by our parent or parents? You know, what environment did we grow up in? We need to let some of this go. Some of it is not our own stuff to carry. So there's a lot of self development that I think that could be a challenge for some people, because you really have to face your stuff. Um, and part of that's, you know, getting in your own way. Well, why do you get in your own way? Because I can be a perfectionist at times, because you know, the way I was raised, like, you know, why didn't you do this, or don't you want to be this? So I have to work on that too. So there's a whole lot of challenges, but I think it's very personal and everyone has their own journey. And hopefully, you know, it's just a matter of finding that.
That makes
Long,
sense.
long answer short.
So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to develop their intuition? I know you said classes. Is there anything else that you can think of? Any more advice?
Um, I would say if you could find a tutor that can work with you one-on-one, I think it really can help. Because it's really important when you're in it learning something, and if you feel something or say something, that you can have that immediate feedback. Because I didn't get a lot of that in the beginning, and now I'm starting to, and I think that's really important, because you want to know where you're going wrong. Because so many people, these teachers give a lecture, and then you go out in breakout rooms, but they're not seeing the bad habits. And so I think if there's someone there who's more advanced than you, they don't have to be a formal teacher, who can call you out on your bad habits. You know, just because you're a medium doesn't mean you're doing it, you know. Well, anyway, there's certain ways there's bad habits that I see a lot. And so I think catching that in the beginning, because a bad habit's really hard to break if you've been doing it for a long time. Just like in golf, if you're not holding the club right, you can, you know, it's just better to hold it, start and do it properly in the beginning. And then it can only get a great foundation, I would say, and explore, see who resonates with you as far as groups and teachers.
Do you offer instruction?
Not yet. I know. It's on my to-do list.
Once you do, we'll start, we'll
Okay.
we'll plug that for you,
Okay.
for
Thank
sure. Let's see. What do you wish more people understood about the spirit world or about mediumship?
you. I think a lot of people think that the spirit world is all-knowing. And I think I said before, there's different levels of awareness and involvement with them.
Mhm.
But they also are quite intelligent. They see the bigger picture. They see what's needed, not necessarily wanted.
Mm.
Because a lot of people like, I want to communicate with this person. I want this, whether it's in a private reading or in a haunted location. I want to connect with the person who was killed here or who lived here. Well, spirit knows who has the ability to do it. And like in Ghost, I don't know if you've both seen the movie Ghost,
Mhm.
but when Sam, the main character, he had to learn how to move that penny from another spirit who knew how to interact with the physical objects on Earth. So I think there's a lot of learning that spirits have to do, and some just know. So I think people think that all spirits know how to do something, and they don't. And I think also that, going to that same point, is spirits also have to learn how to communicate with me or the mediums or people, just humans, who are intuitive, who have different levels of awareness. It's like, oh, her emotions are not quite there yet. Well, I'm going to leave her a penny. That's what she needs. Then she'll believe. Or she doesn't believe in this, but now she'll believe. So there's a lot of different things. So I think I can feel this. Spirit will try and communicate with you in any way they can. And so they also have to work with you and your own beliefs and the general you. So, and if we're open to it, sometimes we're so in grief, we're just blinded by it. So spirits or know that, and or be patient. It's like, well, and I feel like I need to mention it. Spirits will come to me sometimes when I'm like if I'm out and about. So it's like, hey, can you hear me? Hey, hey, hey. Like, yes, I can hear you. Oh, go talk to my, my daughter over there. I love her, my grandchild. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Just approach
Can't do that.
people. Yeah.
I could, but that would be unethical. So I always tell spirits, I'm like, go to your loved one in their dreams. Communicate that with. And a lot of times I'll go, oh, I never thought of that. Okay, thank you. But a lot of times they're just practice, like, can you hear me? I'm like, yes. And then that's all it's like, yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun in that way, but I
I
don't connect
love.
with them.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's yeah.
Sorry. I love how you mentioned the pennies. When my brother passed away, he was staying at my house, and he said, "Hey, will you do my laundry before I leave? Because I start his big job tomorrow." He passed away on the day he was supposed to start his dream job,
Mm.
and I forgot to do his laundry. I was recovering from a cesarean. Anyways, he left. He's like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." I was so upset. So after he passed away, I was just beating myself up the first time I had to go to my washer because I didn't do it for him. I
Oh,
opened my dryer and pennies flew out at me. And he used to him and my brothers would come to my house and throw pennies at each other. And I'd be like, knock it off. And I always get after my brothers. I was like, the boss of the family. So he threw pennies at me as a way of saying it's okay.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was excited. It's like, yay.
Yeah.
She got
And
it. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
great. Oh, how neat.
I love
Has he
that.
done anything since like that for you?
Yeah, he actually does a lot. I have a music box. It's his, and it plays when he wants to catch my attention if I'm not
Oh.
noticing. So a music box and usually pennies though.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That's so sweet.
Um. So, Mariah, can you give an example of how you begin a reading, like the content of a reading, why a spirit may connect, and what kind of evidence is important and what isn't? Like how you process, like kind of the process of how you work.
Yeah. I'm just going to give examples, but sometimes spirit, like your brother, might just kind of whisper in my ear, like, hey, mention that. So it may resonate, but it may not. But the intention, because let's see, sometimes people want to hear from someone specific. And I always say, release all expectations of who's going to show up and what they have to say. Let's say, Kate, you wanted to hear from your brother, and I may connect with him, but you also have to release expectations of what you think he may address or talk about. Like, well, why didn't he talk about this that just happened or whatnot? So, but also, so another spirit may have to open that spiritual door for the other person to come through. So there's always a reason and purpose for spirit to show up. So that's why I say, who's here and what do you have to say? Because some spirits just want to come back, return and have a reunion. I like to say have a reunion, or just say, hey, I'm sorry, or I love you, or recognize something. So essentially it's important to really, for me to, well, ideally, who is this person? What are their characteristics like? What are their personalities? Like, I feel that, I'm making this up, but I feel like, I'm aware of this, so ideally it'd be great to say I'm aware of this brother or this sister. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but really to build their characteristics and make them alive again. And it's really important. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it's not, but a really, I say a genuine, true medium is when you can feel your loved one in the room with you. The power is there. You can feel it. They're just not rattling off evidence, just as facts. Because emotions are facts in many ways. The characteristics, the little nuances are facts. Those are the little pieces that I like to try and become aware of. And spirit knows that, so they'll make me aware of that. So they have different purposes. Again, there's, the love, their hope. They give hope to the sitter, a little bit of guidance, but it's all part of healing on both sides, I think. So I'll be aware of somebody, I'll describe, and you'll hopefully recognize who it is. Or if I tell you who it is, like, does this make sense? This is your, I feel this is your brother. Yes. And you always want the yes, but it's also okay to get no, because I may misinterpret a feeling. It's like, all right, hang on, let me go back. And it's always staying with the spirit and trying not to go in my head. And I think I do go in my head sometimes, but I was like, hang on. And then I do a lot of internal things you'll never see me do, or, you won't hear me say, but just staying with the spirit and the emotions and explaining them and experiencing the evidence. I try and experience, and I say all that now, and it's easier said than done, but it just over practice. What do they have to say? Who are they referring to? Is it living? Are they psychic? I mean, there's so many nuances to a reading. That's why it's, I've developed and still developing for years of learning new things, learning new nuances. It's not, just because a spirit shows up, there's more to that. Or are they talking about someone living and me being aware of that? There's just so many nuances. So I feel, and also sometimes they just, like with your brother, Kate, I feel like it could be a simple reading of, hi, I'm here. And that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be anything more. Or it can be a one sense, like he remembers when you crashed your car recently. I don't know if you did, or you dinged your car. Did you?
Yeah, twice in the past 2 years.
Okay, so little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe all you need to know that he's around.
Mm-hmm. He actually passed away in a car accident too.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel he's here. So he's like, well, I'm going to be a little bit a part of this.
Yeah.
And he's also and it's just like anybody. It's getting to know them. Like the song. Ooh, he's giving me emotions here. Just getting to know them. Just like how you would meet anyone new. Well, tell me about yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or what do you have to tell me? What do you want me? So just trusting them. And I would have to say, your brother's he's a ball of energy. He once you get him on a roll about talking something he loves, would you understand? He can just go, and he's just passionate about, because I feel like he's like, oh, here, I got the door open, but there's always a time and a place. Yeah. But I just feel like he wants to be a little bit part of this conversation.
Yeah, my husband and I were just talking about that, how we wish we had his courage. If he needed to, he did wood carvings. He would go sell them himself by grabbing people off the street. Here, do you want to come buy this? And he would talk, and he was just a beautiful soul.
Yeah.
And he didn't care. And I'm like, I want to be more like Danny.
Yeah. He's like, I don't care. You have other questions to answer, but I don't care because I'm here. But it's out of love, and
Yeah.
it's,
Oh, he's so
it's not out
loving.
of controlling. It's like,
No.
no, I'm going to be, no.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for sending me that information.
Okay.
For giving that to me.
so you're welcome. But every reading is different. I do have to say that every reading is different, but the key thing is to really bring through their characteristics and the evidence of who they were, their personality, shared memories, just things what you'd want to hear from. If like, I would love to hear this, to have a reunion. I'd love for them to talk about that. And just being aware of anything can come through, and just being surrendering to that. So
I feel like too, when people our loved ones that have passed away, like they see more than we do. So a lot of times it's what we don't expect,
Yeah. It's like, for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's a past life thing, but spirits know that. And I also studied architecture, but for some reason, they let me know when they have like a leaky roof or leaky pipe. And it's usually always correct. I'm like, what? How? Okay. So I'm like, you're having plumbing problems or leaky. Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, I just fixed that, or I need to fix that. So it's random things. It's like, just mention that. It's like, just mention that. Okay. Because they see the bigger things too,
Yeah.
So,
I love that you talked about kind of getting to know them, because then it feels like that is kind of establishing a trust, and you're trusting what they're showing you, and they're trusting that your intention is to give the message the right way. So I like that.
and that reminded me something of what Kate asked me of those spirits who don't want to communicate. I find some spirits are, they would say, I don't believe in this woo. I don't believe in mediumship. This is ridiculous. This isn't happening. And like Lloyd would say, well, it is. I can hear you. I'm connecting for you.
Yeah. And yet here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So, and then they're like, oh, well, and then they kind of soften. Like, oh, I can do this. So they're presenting that because that's how they were. So they can be recognized too. Because if I brought someone who was all nice, love, and light when they really were a very difficult, cynical person, the sitter's not going to recognize them. And it's not, and I'm putting my own stuff on it. I mean, it could be, but it's just staying true to who they are. So, yeah.
Do spirits ever follow you home?
Rarely. No. It's also a belief, but they will join me in the car as I'm leaving a location, because they're like, oh, a lot of them have never been in a car before. I can feel that. Or like, wow, this is really cool. I'm like, okay, you can ride with me now, but once I'm home, you're out. Some will make sure I get home safely. Some just like to practice with me. Like, can you still hear me? I'm like, yes. But I rarely have them. They rarely make a presence in my apartment. They get bored. But I do know sometimes they will return with me in my soul, because I have nightmares, and I never ever have nightmares. So I know there's someone came home with me because I have a nightmare. And it's just like, it's not me. And they try and feed on my fear. So it's like, hey, that's not cool. And it's usually a one-time thing. But after an investigation, I always say, you do not have my permission to come home with me in my mind, my body, my heart, my soul, or my car. Depends. I'll throw that little caveat. But I always set that intention, just to put it out there, the energy out there. But also, my loved ones know they can come home with me anytime. And, if there's a need sometimes, but I usually just put that out as far as the group, for belief for the group. I already know. It's like, I don't put intention into it. So therefore I'm not attracting that. So
the boundaries are so important to set, right? Because from the other side, I can only imagine that they see you like a big beacon, a big shining light, and they're like a moth to the flame. And so, I remember this one time, because, it just happens randomly, but you're not, if like, I'm not a medium, so I'm not in that frame of mind to always put up those boundaries. But, Kate and I both had experiences. was in Alaska with my husband, and somebody was grabbing my leg in the hotel room and wanting to get my attention. And then I
Yeah.
saw him pacing back and forth. He turned on the TV out of nowhere. And it's like, you just got to kind of remind yourself to put up that
Yeah.
boundary at home. You're so vulnerable when you're in your bed asleep. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody freaking touch
Yeah.
me when I'm sleeping.
The
Especially my
sleeping.
feet.
Yes, don't
Yeah.
touch me. My dad
It's
used
hot.
to tease me. Yeah, I know.
No.
Put your feet out of the covers. Don't touch my feet.
Yeah, the whole sleeping thing. I just like, they know. It's like, if you need me, don't show up as I'm waking up. And that happens a lot. Or you're just going to sleep, that in between. It's like, oh, I know you're there, go away. But especially like if it's a haunted hotel or whatnot.
Mm,
It's like, no, don't bother me. I'm trying to sleep. This is my
right.
space.
Mhm.
Just
That's right.
keep an arm's length, because I don't like getting startled.
Yeah.
But also it's like you have to go through these experiences like, oh, I didn't realize I need to kind of set that intention until it happens. Like, oh, like when I do EVP sessions here in my apartment, sometimes if I don't set, hey, only those here from my highest good are allowed to communicate. When I don't do that, I get some real creeps.
Mm,
Oh, that's right, I forgot to do that. So it's kind of,
good reminder.
good reminder. Yeah.
So Mariah, is there like just a location that you dream of investigating?
Yes. Gettysburg.
Ooh, yes.
Whether it's conscious, residual, I don't care. I would love just to see, because, just because I can connect with spirits, lots of times in investigations, I'm like, you know what? I know you can connect with me, but I want to see the lights go off. I want to hear your voices. I want to be that objective investigator too. I like playing that role. It's like, yeah, I can hear you, but only if you really need me. But I really would love to see a soldier or a residual of a soldier, and just that energy being in that. So yeah, that's and going to the houses. I mean, I was in Kentucky or no, Arkansas, and went to a couple different Civil War battlefields, and that was neat, just to feel the energy. But there's something about Gettysburg. I went when I was like, I think 13, and I wasn't into the paranormal or anything, but and it was so long ago, and I remember it was July and it was hot and I was miserable. But I would love to go back and just experience the history of it, and just, with a new set of eyes, energetic eyes, spiritual eyes. Yeah, so that's a dream location for me to.
People hear drumming and they see soldiers, and it's a very active. And do you think when people are drawn to a location like that, that it has something to do with a past life connection?
Possibly, potentially. It could just be an interest. It also could be perhaps one of our spirit guides maybe was in a soldier in Gettysburg, and he wants to, or she wants to take me back, and they're making that familiarity. Like, hey, look at what my life used to be. I want you to share my life with you. So there's always that possibility, you know. So Egypt, I also want to go to Egypt.
Me too.
Pyramids.
Me too.
Yeah. More for the spiritual side of it all, not necessarily the spirit aspect, the whole spiritual side of it. I'm
Right.
really curious. Yeah.
So, fun one. What's your favorite ghost or paranormal themed movie?
I would have to say, oh my gosh, I love it. The Haunted Mansion, the new Disney's Haunt, because it has my favorite city, New Orleans. Love it. Has all that. It has the mediumship. It has the trance channeling. It has the investigations. It has, and I love it when I think one of the characters said it's oh God, a ghost wink. All these little nuances they bring and bring to the table, and it's very accurate. I find, I don't know who helped write it, but a lot of it's incredibly accurate. How spirits interact, how mediums work, how psychics work. So it's just that whole package, and it's a lot of fun too. So I really liked it.
One of my favorite rides at Disneyland is just being, even waiting in line, I don't mind, because you're
Yeah,
just looking at this mansion and being inside, just the whole New Orleans square. I love that part of
yeah,
Disneyland too. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mariah, we did quite an episode here. So thank you so much. This was amazing. And we really hope you'll come back with Lloyd too, because that could be a really fun episode.
No, thank you. And it would be fun to be with him, to chat with him, with the both of you. And I mean, there's so many topics, there's so many different, branches you could go. It's like, oh, well, there's this and there's little nuances. And so it's just to really just try to keep it, succinct. And it's like, oh, I think about that, but I can't mention that because that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. It's like,
I
right.
feel like you shared so much. There's so much good information, and you have such great advice. Like, we'll probably get questions from our listeners, so that would be a really good way to figure out, what we should talk about next too.
Yeah, there's a lot, and
Yeah,
there's just different things, and I know there's a lot to learn from both of you too. And things you're not aware of, like you're so engrossed in something, you don't really realize, like, oh, I never thought of it that way. So there's always learning involved, I believe.
Yeah.
But thank you.
So yes, this was really fun. And if you do have questions for Mariah, you can email her at mariahthemedium@yahoo.com. You can also contact Kate or I, and we can forward them on, and you can email us at mindfulmagicchannel@gmail.com. You can find Mariah at her website, theparanormalconcierge.com. She's also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. And we'll list all of her contact info once we get this all uploaded. So I also wanted to give a shout out to Lloyd Auerbach and the Rhine Research Center, where if anybody is interested in taking any of the parapsychology courses, I'm currently in a remote viewing class right now, and it's so fascinating. You can find more information at rhineedu.org.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on Facebook, we are on Twitch and TikTok as well.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
All right.